Folks, how are you doing? Just completed my 8 a.m. interview and I wanted to come back to you. As I talked about in our daily millionaire news, really wanted to talk about what could be a growing mortgage crisis. And it's actually not a mortgage crisis like 2010, where everybody was, cash for keys, short sales, and foreclosures. This is actually a mortgage crisis on the other side. And this is at time of acquisition. So let me explain what I think is happening. I've now seen kind of three portions of new lending. Bless me, sorry about that. Three portions of the lending market really tighten up. So first, it was kind of that secondary market, right? This is where you would find kind of the traditional flippers. This is where you would get 90% of acquisition, 100% of repair costs, kind of expensive debt, maybe 7-8%, couple of points. That market dried up 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we've already talked about that a couple of times. Then last week, maybe it was 10 days ago, the multifamily sector got slammed, right? We saw deals exploding at the end because Fannie and Freddie and the big players, right, came in and instituted new rules overnight, like 18-month reserves or 12-month reserves for mortgage taxes, insurance, things of that nature, which is really impacting new business in the multifamily space. And then, out of nowhere, JP Morgan Chase on Friday put a huge wet blanket on residential lending, right? This is for, 4 units and below. This is, they raised credit scores from 620 to 700. They're now mandating 20% down. What JP Morgan Chase did, and if other big banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, the list goes on, follow suit, which they probably will, that's going to be a huge wet blanket for residential lending. So this is the outcome, but I think we have to ask ourselves why. Because the results aren't interesting unless you can look at the chessboard and ask yourself why. Because if you understand why, you might be able to daisy chain how these things unwind. So the answer is, and if it's obvious, I apologize, but basically what the banks are reeling from is all of these forbearance. All these mortgage forbearance, whether it's the multifamily space and apartment lending, retail, office, whether it's now down at the single family home market. This ability to call up and get a forbearance, pretty much no questions asked for 90 days. And now we're talking 12 months for owner occupants. Is there any reason why lenders are not interested in doing new loans? That's what's going on. They need to keep their reserves. They have all long memories. They remember the pain of 08, 9, 10, 11. They remember all those foreclosures and short sales. They don't want to go back and ask for another bailout. And frankly, they weren't consulted. The banks were not consulted when we came out and said everybody who wants one can have a forbearance. I don't know what the numbers are this week, but as of last week, there's over 2 million requests already. And it's probably doubled by then. So when you think about what the banks, and it's really the residential that this is going to hurt the most, the fastest, is there's going to be less transactions done. It's harder to get a yes answer. Frankly, banks don't want to make new loans. Why would they? You do a new loan today, and before the first payment's due, you've asked for a forbearance? That's what they fear. So this is going to have long-running impact. The ability to easily give a forbearance, no questions asked, no proof needed. It's going to have long-running implications. And banks know that on the other side of this, I did a video on it. This is called The Dark Side of Forbearance. lots of people aren't going to be able to make up the payments. So they're going to have a foreclosure in 2021. So here's the deal, right? Unless something drastically changes, lending is going to be hard for probably the remainder of this year. And it's going to be hard all the way up and down the stack, from cash investments, multifamily. Value add is really going to be hurt by this because cash is going to be the only answer. Even if it's a clean property, lending is going to be more difficult. And you have a buyer base that is shrinking into a lending environment that is shrinking. Prices are going to come down. Transactions are going to come way down. Something I learned way back when I was getting my economics degree, you have to be ready, willing, and able to get a yes answer to be considered a buyer. And it's that able part that just got hard. And if, again, Bank of America and Wells Fargo follow suit with Chase, residential properties is going to be a problem. Prices are going to come down. Jumbo loans, New York, Bay Area, SoCal, you're really in trouble, right? Jumbo loans are getting very, very hard to process today. So even when we come out of this and you think there's going to be a plethora of buyers, it's not going to happen. Lending is drastically changed, and it's all because of this forbearance. And there's been no real talk about how to kind of get people to the other side of this. I'm guessing there has to ultimately be a lending function that tides people over. But until then, I don't know. Love to hear what you think on this. Let's pretend the pie is 100. And if the lending environment was set at 100 in January, which is the best of times for residential, I bet you the lending market as of what is today, the 12th or something, maybe the 13th, is probably 40, right? The lending pool to get a yes answer is down by over a half. And in multifamily, 13, that works. I'll go with 13. Multifamily, again, if January was 100, I bet you that's 20. There's just not a lot of new transactions going to get done. So if we understand that, then the answer out of this is, because there's still going to be forced sellers, death, divorce, job transfer, all of that. Creative financing is going to be an answer, subject to leased options, things like that, wraps. But also private money is going to become a big deal. The ability to build a track record and a network, especially for value add. Cash is king. And if you can get your own cash, or you have access to private investors and there's a way that they're secured and get a return, I think that's going to be the answer for 2020. Because I think banks are scared. So do you think banks are scared or prudent? Because maybe you're on the other side. Maybe the banks aren't scared. Maybe they're being prudent. Maybe they have a better crystal ball than you and I, and they should be doing this. I just think when Chase came out and drastically changed lending standards for residential property, that was a huge wet blanket. That scared me. I was scared. I've read that article 4 or 5 different times on different news outlets, and I don't feel any better. So far, it's Monday afternoon, and Wells Fargo and Bank of America haven't followed suit. I'm very frightened that they will follow suit. Wells Fargo reports earnings tomorrow, so I wonder if they're saving their announcement for earnings. This is a problem. If people can't get loans to buy, we could see significant deterioration in pricing. And if you're in a high-priced market where you rely on jumbo loans, you're in trouble. I'm hearing more and more about loans being pulled right at the end. And again, lending makes real estate go. If there were no loans, if there were no 30 and 15-year loans, and everything had to be done in cash, prices are going to collapse everywhere. Cash and loans make this thing go. So in the end, if you're into real estate investing, you need to follow the lending environment. But this all starts with learning your market. It all starts with finding a deal. It all starts with, frankly, finding a better deal. I call it average, good, or great. You should only be doing great deals today. I might even tell you, if you're just starting out, do great deals, right? Great squared. This is an environment to make sure that you can really pull the trigger and survive. So This mortgage, this is a problem. This is a problem. We need to follow this. JP Morgan Chase changed the game on Friday. We need to see if other people follow suit. So in the end, I wanted to follow up with this morning's video. If you don't know, I do daily content in the morning, usually between 7 and 7:30. Call it the Daily Millionaire News. Subscribe to the channel, check it out, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.